Hello! More devil on the G-string. Well, if it isn't Eiichi-san.
いや、Kyousukeちゃんよ
I met up with Eiichi and Tsubaki outside. The outside air cooled my skin, and it felt excellent. What was up with you telling Kanon her steps were bad or whatever? I thought she was pretty awesome. You still think that after seeing the real thing?
やっぱり俺ちゃんがきつく言ってやったからかな。去年までのカノンと別人だわ。ほんと感動したね。ゾクゾクしちゃったよ。
I found the musical selection to be particularly excellent.
私もそう思った。最初は怖い曲だなって思ったし、いつもニコニコしてるカノンちゃんには合わないような気がしてたんだけど、だんだんハマってきたと思ったらいつの間にかこれしかないみたいな気分にさせられたわ。
Eiichi seemed to be overly excited as he was beginning to talk like his real self even in front of Tsubaki.
やっぱりヒルトンは偉大だな。コーチが違うとこうまで変わるもんかね。
There's really that big of a difference?
違う、去年までのカノンはよ、なんつうの、どっちかっつうとキャワイイ系で売ってる系だったのよ。
I had no idea.
元コーチの金崎育子には悪いけど、カノンにはああいう悪魔系が似合うよ。ちょっと怖すぎたけどね。でもああいうカノンちゃんも素敵だよね。
If you look at her physique closely, she's tall with long limbs. She looks like a foreigner.
なんかの記事で読んだけど、ガキの頃からバレエやって体柔らかくして、飯も自分で管理して食ってたらしいぜ。
If things keep going like this, she can easily win tomorrow's bout too. But suddenly, Eiichi frowned.
ああ、それなんだけどよ。
What?
明日のフリーな。フリーのプログラムはあんまり評判良くねえんだわ。プログラムっつうか、曲か？
Oh, really? Since today was Ride of the Valkyries, would tomorrow be an excerpt from the Heroic Symphony or something
そう
like
思う
that?
だろ。でも何考えてんだか知らねえけど、今日のショートとは180度違う曲調なんだよな。
Look, just tell me already.
マニアのお前ならわかると思うけどよ。
After Eiichi eventually told me the title of the piece, even I was confused. Isn't that a bad idea?
だろ？今日のイメージじゃねえよな。でもカノンちゃんはそれでこの前のカナダ大会は優勝してるんだよね。だったら大丈夫じゃないかな。
I agreed with Tsubaki's opinion. Kanon's technique is incredible. Why would the choice of song affect her score in any way?
無理んだよ。スケートはよ、芸術だぜ。得点を決める要素には曲の解釈って項目もあるくらいだ。実際前のカナダじゃその辺がだいぶ弱かったらしいぜ。
Yeah. Then why doesn't she just change the song?
だよな。なんでまたあんな曲なんだろうな。噂によると元コーチの母親にまだ義理立てしてるって話もあるけどな。浅井くんはそういう話しないの？そうだよ。何か聞いてねえのか？
Not at all.
お前ら本当に家族なのかよ。
Eiichi was thoroughly disgusted.
じゃあまた明日ね。京介もちゃんと来いよ。
Yeah. Maybe I'm being a bit cold, but Kanon can achieve her goal whether I'm there or not. Today's performance verified that fact. The audience's cheers don't mean all that much to Kanon. Just as Azai Gonzo relies only on himself, Azai Kanon has a firm belief in her skills. Yeah, I guess a coach can really change how you perform. There was indeed another death. It was 10 o'clock that night. Mephistopheles had reached the docks in the Western District. The flashlight he had brought shone on the blackened blood. It formed a thin line on the old gray asphalt, and droplets continued on toward the dark waters. A single stab to the lung, and then thrown into the sea. He remembered Mao's cold voice. The winter torrents around this area are quite powerful, so the corpse should have drifted far away by now. There can be no murder investigation if there's no body. His name would merely be recorded on the missing persons list, 90,000 annually and counting. Mao emphasized that part of his murder plan. Just like Mao had promised he would, Mephistopheles found a driver's license at the edge of the boardwalk. He picked up the bloody card to check the name. He was satisfied. This Westerner had been employed as a ballet dancer. Japan has its own proper traditional dances. In order to correct the American cultural invasion after last century's great defeat, people like him must be eradicated from this nation. Mao is a person I can rely on. His battle spirit was already boiling. It just wouldn't do to fall short of Mao's expectations. Suddenly, a voice spoke up behind him. Mephistopheles immediately hid the bloody license inside his jacket.
すいません。
He slowly turned his head around and beheld the ghost before him. It met the flashlight's glare. Mephistopheles stepped back in surprise.
危ないっすよ。
The sea was behind him. The ghost extended its hand and stepped forward. When he looked closely, he realized that it was simply a girl with extremely long hair. She seemed to be enrolled as a student somewhere, and she wore a school uniform with a ribbon in the front.
女学生がこんな時間まで何をしている?
How deplorable. Girls are getting worse by the year. Why don't they realize that the improper things they're doing, such as wandering in the night, are precisely what's making the crime rate go up? She'd be partially to blame if she was attacked.
何をしているんだ貴様?
いえ、この辺はちょこちょこ来るんすよ。考え事をしているときは特に。いえ、この先にちょっとした見栄えのする場所がありましてね。
She spoke in mumbles, completely indirect.
昔大好きな人とお別れした場所でしてね。この街は変わってしまいましたけど、この辺りだけは大して変わってないなと懐かしんでいたんです。
名前を言え。
藤原紀香です。
The girl looked at him dimly through her bangs.
藤原。今が何時だかわかるか? おい。
11時くらいですかね。
子供は家で寝てる時間だろ。
一応18歳以上なんすけどね、これでも。
She said in a joking manner.
そんなことより、お怪我はありませんか?
怪我?
ええ、足元に点々と。
She must be talking about the
私は
blood.
知らん。ジョギングをしていたら、ふと気になって調べてみた。
そうっすか。
She sighed as if
私
exhausted.
は帰る。お前も夜更かししないで、ちゃんと帰宅するんだぞ。
お気遣いありがとうございます。
It didn't fit her creepy exterior, but she bowed deeply. Mephistopheles passed by the girl and walked away.
ちょっといいですか?
Being called, he stopped.
ミヒャエル・ユグムントさんとよくお会いします?
Mephistopheles opened his eyes wide. He knew that name well. That man now lay at the bottom of the sea.
誰だって?
ですからユグムントさんです。バレエの先生ですよ。今話題の浅井カノンに指導したこともあるんです。
そんな奴は知らん。
The girl, disappointed, dropped her shoulders. He suddenly felt a wave of uneasiness wash over
な
him.
ぜ私にそんな話をする?
いえ、ジョギングされてたんですよね。っていうことは、この辺にお住まいなのかなと。
So the foreigner lives here too. His sense of suspicion grew ever stronger. Why would a girl that he'd never seen before talk to him about a dead man?
自分はあの方のファンでして、もしあったらサインもらっておいてください。
いいだろう。連絡先を教えろ。
マジっすか? やったわあ
The girl, without a shred of weariness or worry, told him her cell number. Just a coincidence? Mephistopheles said goodbye to the girl with the innocent smile. In any case, he has a way to contact her. He can get rid of her quickly if anything happens. At the bar, as always, Mephistopheles called Mao
死
immediately.
体を確認した。見事なものだな。
これで私を信用していただけましたか?
もちろんだ。
He gave a firm answer. He was now well aware of the seriousness backing the young man on the other end of the line. It was time to initiate the revolution.
では、明日だな。
手順通り9時にお願いします。
分かっている。 二度も殺人を犯したお前の計画だ。きっと完璧なのだろう。
A drink was set before him. He worked hard to suppress the urge to shout out for Mao to click glasses. After hearing about her, the women they had discussed seemed unforgivable to him. She was supposedly a figure skating coach. In the past, she had been a great player who had even participated in the Olympics, but after retiring, she began to live a depraved life. Her name was Kanosaki Ikako. She published a book criticizing the very skating association that brought her fame, and there were even rumors about her having illicit relations with a member of the Yakuza. At her prime, she had a lean and beautiful figure, but she's put on weight since then. She doesn't care about her income, instead choosing to live a disgusting life by leeching off of her daughter's prize money. She's the worst kind of parent. If even one such mother disappeared from the earth, the future of education would be ever brighter.
何か質問は？
Unexpectedly, Mao posed this question. Mephistopheles took a moment to consider. He remembered the face of the girl he had just met.
やはり顔を見られたら殺した方がいいのか？
いい質問ですね。
He sighed as if
場合により
impressed.
ます。
というと、
目撃者というのは非常に厄介な存在です。特徴を覚えられた場合、警察が最新鋭の機器を使ってかなり正確なモンタージュを作成します。
下手をすれば私の顔が交番や地下鉄にばらまかれるってことか。
しかし
He stopped for a second.
目撃者というものは大抵の場合、事件の光景よりも事件で味わった感情を記憶しているものです。犯人の持っていたナイフが恐ろしかったとか、警官の発砲に耳が割れそうになったとか、そういうことは覚えています。しかし、例えばその場で自分と同じように悲鳴を上げていた人物のことは記憶からすっかり抜け落ちるものです。
なるほど。周りと同化してしまえということだな。
もちろん、あなたが大層な肥満であったり、鼻の下にブドウのようなほくろがあるのなら話は変わってきますが。
安心しろ。酒は好きだがビールバラには縁遠い。
Mephistopheles was an ordinary, tired-looking man, perhaps a bit on the
と
tall
はい
side.
え、目があったら殺した方がいい。
目か。
目は最も感情を伝える部位の一つです。あなたの瞳に異常を感じれば相手はきっと忘れないことでしょう。
So try to keep your face as hidden as possible.
ならもう一人殺しておかなくては。
Mephistopheles opened his mouth only after taking a large
実
swig.
はさっき港で妙な女に出くわしてな。幽霊かと思ったよ。ただの女学生だったが、膝まで届きそうなくらい髪が長かった。お前が殺した男の話をされたぞ。
Amazingly, Mao didn't say a thing. Unable to stand the silence, Mephistopheles
藤
continued.
原とか名乗ってた。海に沈んだ男のファンらしい。連絡先は聞いておいた。なんだ。何を考えている？
There was no response. Perhaps he had mentioned something that angered Mao, or perhaps he had an idea as to who that girl
ぜ
was.
ひ
After a long silence, Mao spoke quietly, almost to
ぜひ
himself.
殺してください。
Mephistopheles sensed murderous intent from those words, though only for an
そ
instant.
の少女こそあるいは最大の敵です。
ただいま。
For an athlete, you sure do walk slow. It's been almost an hour since the tournament ended for the day.
コーチとお話ししてちょっと調整して、その後インタビューとかしてたら遅くなった。
She had a blank look on her face as she threw her bags on the sofa.
兄さん、何してたの？魚臭いよ。
I'm cooking, and yes, it is fish. I must have a truly impoverished nature. I bought 10 sari from the supermarket just because they were on sale.
のんちゃんもう食べたよ。
That's alright. We'll eat it tomorrow then. As for the rest, I'll give it to Tsubaki. She lives close by, after all. I made some coffee while talking to Kanon, who was lazily stretched out on a sofa. Today was amazing.
何が？
You were.
演技が？そう？
She zoned out for a little bit. You took first place effortlessly. There were a full 20 points between you and that Russian in second place.
ああ、そうだっけ？じゃあそれなりだね。
She doesn't seem to have any interest in her opponents. What are your thoughts on today, then?
はい。結果に満足せずに精進したいと思います。
That's just a line you memorized for the camera.
本当にそう思うんだよ。だって NKH 杯は外国の選手も来るけど、世界で一番強い人が集まるわけじゃないもの。
What? It was a piece of cake for you because you were only up against small fries?
そんなつもりはないけど、結局そういうことかも。
Because she said it so innocently, it didn't even sound offensive.
のんちゃんは世界一になりたいのです。
Right.
トップ、優勝、一番、最強、王様、そういう言葉が好きです。
I understand. Then I pointed to the sofa cover that Kanon had wrinkled up when I wasn't paying attention. I understand, so fix that.
やだ、どうせすぐにぐっちゃにするから。
Then just don't wrinkle it up in the first place. Reflect on it and make sure that you don't do it again.
王は顧みないものです。
You're not a king yet.
兄さんにはかなわないな。
She reluctantly straightened up the cover. Do you want to take a bath? The water's ready.
気が利くね。やっぱり兄さんの家に来て正解だったな。
What do you mean? Surely Ikuko-san heated up the water for you too.
うん。すごい気を使ってくれるよ。
A glimmer of loneliness shone in Kanon's eyes.
コーチはのんちゃんが世界一になることばっかり考えている人だから、いつもヘコヘコしてるよ、私に。
She lowered her head and stared at the empty floor. I remembered the thing that had bothered me and asked about it. Well, about your program for the free skate tomorrow.
ん？
It doesn't really seem like it's your style, so why? For an instant, Kanon pursed her lips in hesitation.
知らない。コーチがヒルトン先生にお願いしたみたい。でも知らない。
I didn't ask Kanon, who still called Ikuko-san coach, anything else.
じゃ、一緒に寝よう。
I'm not sleeping.
のんちゃんね、何かを抱っこしてないと眠れないの。
Don't act so bratty. You know we shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
大丈夫だよ。誰も見てないよ。
For Christ's sake, what am I supposed to do with this girl? The shadow floating behind her smile is bugging me a bit. Oh well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to stay by her side until she falls asleep. Yeah, I'll go ahead and lie down. Fine, I get it, but I'm nocturnal, so I'll be reading on the bed.
ありがとう。5秒で寝つくから。
Hurry up and take your bath.
はい。
She saluted and went to the changing room with light steps. Jeez. I sat on the chair in the study and stretched lazily. Kanon should be able to win easily tomorrow. So there will be another victim. Thinking about that made me depressed. Even so, I don't really have any methods at my disposal to do anything about it. I don't... Ugh. What the heck? I'm getting dizzy again. It's probably because of Akimoto's big mouth. Darn it. Even so, this is outside of my calculations. To think that Usami had already come into contact with Mephistopheles. Why did Usami appear at that dock tonight? Usami is in contact with his Gonzo, so she should have a list of possible victims. People who are affiliated with Kanon, be it through school, skating, blood relation. Even if the list was filtered through, there should have been more than 10 people. And from that, to correctly pinpoint that German ballet dancer as the target. Michael Jugmund does indeed live near the Western District's port. Maybe Usami and the rest were watching his house and discovered Mephistopheles acting suspiciously on the boardwalk. Why? Is it a coincidence? Extremely good luck? If it wasn't, then I have to admit that I underestimated Usami. I let loose a sardonic laugh. I don't get it. Along with the sound of the shower starting, a person's voice came from the bathroom. There's no towel, it said. What a cheeky woman. I'll prepare one right away. I look forward to tomorrow. I'll have Usami show me her skills so I can see just how good she really is. Yet you're always full of energy. The next morning, I walked Kanon to the building entrance. After a while, a high-class foreign car drove up and approached the curb.
Ohayo, Kyousuke-kun.
Ikuko-san slowly emerged from the left-hand driver's seat. Good morning. Nice car.
そう?もう2世代も前の車よ。
Even so, I'm sure she could afford to buy 3 family cars.
それじゃ兄さん、行ってくるね。
Kanon ducked into the back seat with enthusiasm. Nobody sat in the passenger seat.
ごめんなさいね。私からも連絡しておこうと思ったんだけど、つい忙しくて。
It's okay. She was talking about Kanon.
何か言ってなかった？
No, nothing in particular.
私の悪口とか？
The strange smile she developed over the years surfaced. I couldn't distinguish between her sincerity and sarcasm. No, she just said she was going to do her best and set her sights on the World Championships.
ならいいけど。
She put her hand against her sagging cheek suggestively. Speaking of the World Championships, she was an Olympic athlete in the past.
カノンは甘えん坊だから大変でしょ？ でも、それが可愛いのよね。
I felt only unrest. Oblivious to the reason behind it, I knew only that I wouldn't be able to continue a conversation with this person.
ねえ、行かないの？
Kanon popped her head out the window. She bore a very unamused look on her face. No, maybe it's just my imagination. She just rarely looks so expressionless.
何かあったら連絡してね。
Okay, Ikuko-san nodded slightly before getting into the car. After a quiet ignition, the car drove off, followed by a black limo. In the limo behind Ikuko-san's car sat two huge muscle men. They're probably Gonzo's men, here to protect Ikuko-san. However, what will happen when they get to the arena? What will happen when they enter areas only official tournament personnel are allowed to enter? Even Yakuza would be thrown out of there. This opportunity may be the one Mao is intending to exploit. I got a phone call. It's Gonzo. This is Kyousuke.
Usami はどうだ?
I don't know. I haven't seen her since last time.
連れてこい。すぐにだ。
The line cut right after he finished. What's this new development? I rolled my eyes and clicked my tongue as I dialed Usami's number.
宇佐美でございます。
She picked up the phone after only one ring. Good to hear you're as disgusting as ever. What are you up to right now?
今はフランス風の喫茶でカッファを頼んでいます。
Quit bluffing.
本当です。新聞も読んでます。カノンのことがデカデカと載ってますね。
Usami wasn't in the arena yesterday.
表情の戦女神とかなってますよ。
You should go see it in person at least once. It's incredibly intoxicating.
あ、ちょっとすいません。
Suddenly, I heard some sort of rustling noise. What? What are you doing? However, there was no response. If I listened carefully, I could hear the weak sound of country music in the background. She really was in a shop somewhere. Hello?
何ですか？
I decided to cut to the chase. Gonzo wants you. Come quickly.
マジっすか。
She seemed to sink into deep consideration.
わかりました。今セントラル街にいましてね。
I'll come to meet you then. I'll call you back when I'm almost there. After Usami agreed, I started walking. The day was especially warm. I met Usami shortly after calling her out. What are you doing out here anyway?
もちろん尾行です。
Tailing? Who?
それはまだなんとも。怪しい人ではあるんですが、白だったらご本人に迷惑がかかりますので。
Suspicious how?
昨日ばったり出くわしましてね。まだ事件に関係があるかどうか確信が持てないんですが。どうでしょう。
She glanced behind her. Save the details until we meet with Gonzo.
もしかして何の進展もなかったら撃ち殺されるんですかね。
It's possible.
え
Usami's face suddenly tensed. Her eyes widened as she stared at something behind me. What's wrong? I turned my head around and a tall woman stood behind me. Her lustrous coat was strangely vivid under the winter sun. A faint smile was plastered on her face as she looked at us. The woman slowly approached Usami and me. Her soft, straight, black hair shone brilliantly under the sunlight. What the? Who are you? I asked Usami behind me. Hey, Usami. She was entirely speechless. Could the suspicious person Usami spoke of be... Finally, the woman spoke.
久しぶりね。ある？
I turned back to Usami without thinking.
You...
Usami broke into a dash. She moved incredibly fast. I was shocked by the scene, and she vanished into the crowd before I even noticed. What? Hey! Yuki? My eyes met with the woman named Yuki before I had grasped the situation. As we confronted each other, I noticed that we were around the same height. She had long eyebrows and determined eyes. She had long arms and legs like Kanon. She wasn't at all like an ordinary Japanese person. The black suitcase in her hands conjured images of an able businesswoman in my mind.
こんにちは。私は時田由紀。あなたは？
Oh, this woman, capable of unnerving even the stoic Usami, asked me in a peaceful tone. Kyousuke, is I Kyousuke? You would be?
FBI よ。
What? Well, I wondered, aghast, if she was really telling me the truth. Her next question rushed in.
あなたは 春の恋人？
Oh no. Don't freak me out like that. I'm just an acquaintance of hers. Tokita smiled and opened the suitcase.
これ、私の連絡先。
Oh, she handed me a business card.
春に伝えておいて。私がまたあなたを狙ってるって。
An evil glow sparkled in her eyes.
それじゃあ、また会いましょう。
She left after saying her piece. And then there was me, still puzzled, and not a step away from where I was when she came in. I said, an acquaintance of Usami's.
あざいさん、あざいさん。
Oh, you're back. She was gasping for air.
ユキは何か言っていましたか？
Not really, only that she had her eyes set on you. Who is that woman? She's incredibly beautiful. Usami shook her head with no sign of stopping.
いや、私の友達です。
You mean you've really had friends before? If she's a friend of Usami's, then chances are that she's a weirdo. Speaking of which, what does it mean when you say you have your eyes set on a friend?
ユキが狙っているのは私のビーチクです。
Sweater puppies? Oh, yeah. I've never noticed before, but Usami were bigger than those of some pinup models. Anyway, here's her contact information.
電話をしろと？
Are you that against it?
私のビーチクがこうなったのはユキのせいです。
Wait, really? I think the theory that birds grow when you rub them is mirroring urban legend. Well then, I guess I can just pretend that I lost it. I didn't feel like dealing with this anymore.
いえいえ、ユキに嘘は通じません。
Huh?
これは大変なことになったぞ。
I think this is the first time I've seen Usami panicked into a sweat. Ooh. Who is this new girl? Cool. Even amongst those as odd as Usami, everyone shows reverence when in the presence of Gonzo. The blabbering idiot from a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. With a stern look on her face, Haru sat opposite Gonzo.
脅迫状によれば今日の夜9時に人が死ぬ。何か掴んだか？
それが。
Speak clearly.
わかりました。ではこれをご覧ください。
She took the threat letter from last time out of her bag as she spoke. What am I looking at?
この封筒なんですがね。
Usami flipped the empty envelope over and placed it on the desk. What about it? On top of it was what seemed to be a black pencil smudge.
ちょっと気になる引っかき傷があったので。
文字の痕跡か？
ええ、よくテレビで刑事がやるようなことをやらせてもらいました。
もうやるな。痕跡の大半が消える。本来なら。
Something seemed to have come up in Gonzo's mind as his expression steepened.
何か出てきたか？
謎の文字が。
We all looked carefully. On the back of the envelope was the word North and a certain distance away, the letters HTS.
北と津ですね。
What does that mean?
おそらく魔王はこの封筒の上に紙を置いて何かを書いたんです。
What could he have written? Usami shook her head.
ゴンゾーさんはどう思われます？
Gonzo narrowed his eyes slightly and answered.
殺しのあった現場だ。
Why do you say that?
北欧ハイツ。北区にある死んだデザイナーの自宅マンションだ。
私と同じ意見です。少し自信が持てました。
続きがある。 斎藤だな。これもデザイナーの名前だ。
So it's the murder target in his address. There seems to be more.
ええ、それなんですがね。
The character for Ko, as in the word kodomo, child, right?
はい、おそらく。
If you look carefully, it seems to be written right next to Saito. It looks like they're in the same column or something.
なるほど。よく気づかれましたね。ということは、これもやはり次の殺害予定者でしょう。
I immediately ran through the list of people associated with Kanon. A name containing that character for Ko. Noriko. Is it Miss Noriko? The female teacher that Eiichi was once smitten with.
それから、カノンと親交のあった元選手の吉田紀美子さん。
According to our sources, she opened a cafe no more than 10 minutes away from the arena after she retired. Most of the customers were the skaters, so the shop was very lively.
あとは育子だな。
Gonzo spoke blankly and without emotion, despite it being the name of his ex-lover. One of these three is going to be murdered.
そうですね。魔王の脅迫状にはそうありました。
If you intend to lend your ears and heed my warning, force her to throw the upcoming NHK trophy. Otherwise, a new sacrifice will be taken at 9 o'clock, the night of the last day. There's no doubt Kanon's going to win. If that happens, tonight at 9. Mao might already be preparing for the whole operation. Any other leads?
ここなんですが。
Usami's finger pointed to the clearly visible prints of once written characters. The P's might be saying paper. Or wait, there's an LA population.
いえ、袋でしょう。紙袋です。
Paper bag? What on earth does that mean?
あとは、その紙袋という文字のすぐそばにある数字ですかね。
5?
5の前にも何か、数字ですかね。あるようですが、ちょっと読めませんね。
So what does it mean?
わかりませんが、今のところ思い当たるのは、
スケート会場内の客席番号だな。
私もそう思います。今日は女子フリーです。スケート会場内は大変な賑わいです。育子さんの警護も難しくなるでしょう。
Definitely. If his target is Ikuko-san, this number might be where he's seated in the arena.
5番なのか、25番なのか、56番なのかはわかりませんが。
There are also Latin letters ranging from A to K in front of the numbers. If the deadline is 9 o'clock, would there be enough time to take a look at all the seats in the chaotic arena? Before I noticed, the sunlight shining into the room had become brighter. It's probably about 2 in the afternoon. A voice came from outside.
お話し中失礼します。
堀部か。
The man entered the room with his head down.
これは坊ちゃん、お久しぶりでございます。
Oribe, the underboss, is the one calling me the young master and son. He's the second most powerful member of the Sonoyama group, behind Gonzo. An abusive, sadistic glow always shone in his flat eyes.
親父の指示通り、若いの30人ばかりかき集めておきました。
おう。
いつでも動けます。
Gonzo nodded as Oribe's report ended. Oribe bowed and left.
兵隊は揃った。
Well, this is Gonzo. He always has the matter neatly taken care of. He had already prepared a unit that could move freely.
だが、会場内に入れるのはよくて10人だろうな。
今から10人分のチケットを手に入れられるのがまずすごいです。
This is Gonzo, after all. He probably plans to make the scalpers cough them up.
残りの人間は会場の出入り口を固めさせる。幾子が出入りする関係者通用口は特に。宇佐美と京介は中の人間と協力して会場内で該当する客席を調べろ。
Understood. Usami nodded quietly.
魔王の背格好だが、
はい、身長は高めです。浅井さんくらいでしょうか。髪型は特に印象的なものでもありませんでしたね。顔をはっきりと見たわけではありませんが、やや前髪が長めだったような気がします。服装はもちろん私が目撃した時の服装ですが、どこにでも売ってそうな黒いコートに、これまた町のサラリーマンが着てそうなスーツ姿でした。
あえてだろうな。
You mean he went out of his way to blend in with the crowd?
しかし魔王ばかりを追っていると思わぬ罠に陥るかもしれんぞ。
おっしゃる通りです。
I see. There might be an accomplice.
はい。魔王は封筒の上で次の殺害予定者を紙か何かに書いたと思われます。それが自分への覚書なのか。
Or perhaps you're saying it could be an instruction to an accomplice. In the threat letter Mao sent, he writes that he released the murder called Mephistopheles into the wild.
しかし、どうにも。
Usami furrowed her brows again. Usami, speaking of which, who are you telling today?
あ、はい。その話ですね。
なんだ。
Usami cleared her throat and said,
実はですね、昨日怪しげな人と出会いまして。
When? Where?
西区の港ですね。倉庫が連なっているような場所です。時間は夜中ってところでしたが、男性が岸の縁でしゃがんでたんです。目の前は海です。真っ暗な海を覗き込んでいるものだから、自殺かなと思って声をかけましたら、妙に驚かれまして。
He might have taken you for a ghost.
年齢は30ちょっとでしょうかね。妙に武将髭が濃かったような。
So just what about him was suspicious?
男性の足元で血が点々と海に続いていたんです。
Blood, huh?
血についてはノーコメントでした。が、地面には何かを持ち去ったような跡がありました。後で調べてみたところ、血の点が途中で途切れていた箇所がありました。
And that something was...
わかりませんが、カードでしょうかね。四角いものだと思います。そういう跡ができていました。
But that doesn't necessarily mean the man took it, does it?
いえ、彼の懐中電灯を握る親指の先がかすかに赤に染まっていました。血染めのカードを拾ったと考えるのは自然です。
What precise observations?
彼はジョギングしていると言ったんですがね。それも多分嘘です。
Yeah, it was a handheld flashlight, right? Would anyone jog carrying something like that?
あの晩は何か人に言えないようなやましい事件があったんだと思います。
Gonzo, who had been silently watching our interchange, finally said,
で、宇佐美はなぜそんな場所に行ったんだ。
Good question. Did she find a lead or something?
あの近くに被害者リストにあるバレエダンサーが住んでいますよね。
Michael Jugmund, I think. Did you go there and meet him?
念のため訪問しましたが留守でした。手元の資料にあるように、その方は2ヶ月前に一時帰国しているはずですから。
Not to interrupt, but wouldn't that mean that the dancer is safe?
だとはいいんですけどね。
Gonzo was still staring at Usami.
それでその怪しげな男を今日の朝まで追っていたというわけです。
話を聞く限り今回の脅迫事件と関係はなさそうだな。
ねえ、特にこれといった確信はないんですが。
I tilted my head.
私がユグムントさんの名前を出した時にやけに食いついてきたような気がするんです。
Interest. I may not know of him, but isn't he a pretty famous dancer?
いえいえ、藤原紀香も知らない人がユグムントさんを知っているとは思えません。
Huh?
名前を聞かれたので憧れの芸能人の名前を出したんです。
You really have a way of getting things done.
そしたら全くの無反応でしてね。 一瞬だだ滑ったのかと思って知りたくなりましたが、どうも相手の様子が素でしてね。
Well, normally one would probably assume it to be a fake name.
まあ、藁にもすがるってやつです。
Did you find out the man's address?
いいえ、彼は朝までセントラル街のバーで飲んでいました。帰宅する様子も見せませんでした。
I get it. If he can stay that long at the bar, then he must be a regular customer.
ええ、そのバーさえ張っていれば、尾行はいつでも再開できます。
話は分かった。その男について何かあれば人を割く。
Well, that'll be all then. We've already finished saying what we need to. I bowed to Gonzo and turned around, prepared to leave.
幾子は殺されても構わん。
Pardon? I looked back in surprise at Gonzo's emotionless words.
重要なのは星を必ず捕まえることだ。
We're not the police. We don't place the safety of citizens as our first priority.
あの女はカノンにとってももう不要な存在だ。むしろこれから先は邪魔になる。
What a truly heartless man. I couldn't even imagine him having close relations with Ikuko-san in the past. Suddenly, I thought of my mother. It is the very Azai Gonzo before me that pushed my mother into the abyss of poverty. He's a demon. And as for me, the boy forced to serve the demon, I would drown in indispersible despair. One day, with my own hands, Gonzo...
浅井さん、どうされました？
No, nothing. We left Gonzo's house.
しかし、このお宅の警備もなかなか物々しいですね。
As Usami pointed out, there are always groups of people patrolling the house. One stationed in the front, 3 in the garden. And each of them carrying a different weapon.
やはりヤクザさんの偉い人ともなると、代わりの効かないお体なんでしょうね。
That aside, I'm impressed by how much you found.
はあ、これでゴンゾーさんに役立たず扱いされなければいいんですが。
You concentrated on the envelope rather than the letter. That already proves you're smart enough.
ですかね。あまり褒めないでもらえると嬉しいです。
She looked somehow displeased. It's almost time. Should we call a cab?
電車の方が早いでしょう。
We left swiftly for the subway station.
坊ちゃん、そっちの女性は坊ちゃんの色ですかい？
Worribe asked me with a smile. It was already 3 in the afternoon. We met Worribe inside the arena. Me, Usami, Worribe, and 5 of his men were there. They didn't really look all that bad. Their builds and facial features were fairly typical. They could pass for average citizens to a quick glance.
浅井さん、自分色とか言われてるんですけど。
I see her mouth as foul as ever, Worribe.
おや、違うんですか。そいつは失礼。
Worribe narrowed his thin eyes even more, awaiting my orders. Alright, let's split up. We need to search all seats that contain the number 5, no matter if it's 35 or 52. Search it. If you spot any suspicious people, call me right away. Okay?
魔王は背の高い青年なんでしたっけ？
Yes, but we might be dealing with a different agent this time.
ってことは5のつく席に座ってる野郎全員に梨をつけなきゃならんですね。
The first thing to check would be that the name of the person and the name on the ticket match. The popularity of figure skating is very high, so tonight's tickets were sold out moments after they opened the box office. Mal probably got his tickets through an internet auction or something like that.
でしたら適当に怪しいやつをしょっぴいて魔王だの脅迫状だの犯人しか知らないようなことをかまかけてみますわ。
Worribe might be a sinister man, but one can't hold on to the number 2 seat in Gonzo's organization without also bearing a cunning mind. This might take a while. Still, I hope that everyone can play well. Try not to cause any trouble.
承知してますよ。カノンお嬢ちゃんの晴れ舞台を邪魔しちゃいけねえってことくらい。
あるいは
Usami spoke.
席が空いていたとしても調べてもらえますか？何か不審なものが置かれていないか。
You mean like a paper bag? Usami shook her head.
その5という数すらそもそも客席の番号とは何の関係もないかもしれませんが。
But it's still a lot better than just letting this play through. And realistically, we can pretty much be sure that Ikugo-san is his target.
おっしゃる通りです。では動きましょう。
Uribe shouted and the men scattered.
浅井さん？ちょっと顔色が悪そうですが。
Yeah, I was just up with Kanon until late last night. I can't even walk straight.
そうですか。無理しないでくださいね。
Usami left me with the words, "I'll call you when I find something," and vanished around the corner of the corridor. You certainly are the right person. Thank you very much for your cooperation. I bowed to the lady seated at 51. The arena is so huge, it takes over 10 or 15 minutes just to get from one place to the next. Once the competition starts, we'll only be able to ask spectators between programs. It'll become even more time-consuming. We're pretending to be plainclothes security guards. If the real guards find out, there's going to be big trouble. And to top it all, and even in cases where the spectator in the ticket match, we can't let our guards down. I've already questioned 6 people, and any one of them might be Mao's accomplice. This is a very laborious task. What a congregation. Mephistopheles obeyed Mao's orders and left seat C5. As he stood up, a yell suddenly came from the seat behind him. It was a fat, middle-aged woman. I had to try my best not to draw any attention. Mephistopheles bent down, lowered his head, and walked toward the passage on the second floor. The audience was stunningly huge. And for what? Some meaningless prancing? To Mephistopheles, the only true sport was the national game of Japan, sumo. He had already sat through Mao's spiel explaining the draw of figure skating. It's both sport and art. The history of figure skating could be traced back to ancient times. Mao had even told him about the oldest known pair of ice skates in the world, a pair made from animal bones which are now preserved in the British Museum. The entire discourse slipped from Mephistopheles' mind immediately thereafter, though. The only persistent information was about the athlete Usami Kanon. To put it simply, Usami Kanon was a source of income for a criminal organization. Mao had called her a lost cause. Mephistopheles felt the same way. Criminal groups' actions and ideals aren't ideals at all. These organizations are mere gangs trying to turn a profit. They snatch money from the weak in order to make a living out of a life of crime. When an enterprise brings a misfortune to someone, lobbyists and interest groups, not unlike Mephistopheles, drive their advertisement-riddled vans around the city, eventually stopping at the doorstep of said enterprise and blasting out some cacophony in protest of their actions. As soon as the organization promises to support the interest group of capital, the harassment stops and continues somewhere else. In Mephistopheles' opinion, the existence of people who value only money yet armor themselves when false ideals sustain the concept of interest groups. Mao made his beliefs about Usami Kanon very clear. Once Kanon has disappeared, we will be one step closer to achieving social justice. Also, Kanon wasn't the sort of athlete that represented our nation. She even showed a contemptuous attitude toward the audience. Mephistopheles could understand Mao's feelings. A friend's indignation would be his flare of rage. So he followed the plan and strode down the aisle. It was 8:45 in the evening. Kanon's free skate was about to start. The corridors were nearly deserted, as the spectators were all racked with anticipation in the arena. I rendezvoused with Usami. How's it coming?
いえ、まるでダメです。怪しい人って言いますけど、どっちかっていうと自分の方が怪しいですから。
Usami finally recognized herself as a strange person. There are too few clues. We've got nothing but the number 5, the words paper bag, and the code Ikuko-san.
多すぎるくらいだとも思いますがね。
She mumbled to herself.
さっき警備の人にさすがに捕まえられましたよ。やっぱり世界の選手が集まるだけあって、それなりに警戒されてるんですね。
It might be about time to stop then.
自分は尋問とか苦手でしてね。
That would be because it's hard enough as is to just have a conversation with you.
こんな時にユキでもいれば。
There are still 15 minutes before the deadline of 9 o'clock.
はい。
Then my phone suddenly rang. It was Horibe. An empty seat. A brown bag. Is it a paper bag?
マジっすか？
It was a point that she herself made, but now she's standing there, shocked. Understood. I'll head over right now. C5, right? The audience was in a stir. Kanon's performance had just ended. The free skate is only 4 minutes long. To the performer and the audience, it might be a long period of time, but it passed in the blink of an eye when Usami and I were rushing to meet Horibe.
いやー、さすがカノンでした。素晴らしい。
Oh, shut up. You weren't even watching. Just like the spectators around us, Usami clapped excitedly. Judging by the audience's reaction, Kanon's victory is all but hers, as expected. I took a look at the screen that showed the points awarded. Sure enough, Kanon had the lead. There's still one contestant who hasn't performed yet, but based on her performance yesterday, she has no chance of beating Kanon. Which means Mao should be making his move.
坊ちゃん、こっちです。
I walked to Horibe's side and took a look at the seat. C5 was empty.
一応手はつけないで見張っておきました。星がのこのこ戻ってくるかもしれませんしね。
As we spoke, the last competitor began her performance. In the dead silent arena, it was best to stop the chattering. The clock kept on ticking, but I was hesitant to just sit down and wait patiently. The moment the soothing classical music stopped, we started moving again. Comfortably drowned out by the loud applause, Usami dashed for the seat. She grabbed the bag under the seat and spoke immediately.
何か入っています。中を開けてみましょう。
It was a small paper bag with a department store label on it. What if it's a bomb?
ええ、本当なら警察の方にお渡ししたいものですが、堀部さんが許さないでしょうね。しかし、例えば今この場で私を含め無関係な人を爆弾で吹き飛ばしたとしても、それがカノンの躍進を妨害することにはならないと思います。
I suppose that's true. If somebody died, the tournament might cancel, but that wouldn't stop Kanon from moving on to the Olympics. Beyond that, the police out Mao seems to detest more than anything would start an investigation.
開けます。
I nodded, and Usami tore apart the tape which sealed the paper bag. Another letter? The bag contained nothing but a single piece of paper with the same texture as the threat letter. I stood beside Usami and read the words on the paper with her. Just like the letter Gonzo received, it was in horrible handwriting. To a dear comrade, you've already made sure of Azai Kanon's victory, correct? Here's your next task. The target is Kanesaki Ikuko. Leave the arena. Head to the staff entrance. Chaos should erupt when the fans start waiting for the skaters to come out. Indeed, it will be so chaotic that if someone were to die, no one would be able to tell who did it. Be especially careful when you use the dagger. One would die as if sleeping with a mere slice of the fingertip. A red carpet was being rolled out onto the ice, and the award ceremony was about to begin. On the highest step of the winner's platform was Kanon. Concentrate on guarding the staff entrance. I stared at Horibe. The accomplice who accepted Mao's orders was right there, getting ready to kill Ikuko-san. Oribe kicked into gear. He called his men and gave immediate instructions. Hey, Usami, we should go too. Usami moved as well. However, she didn't climb the stairs of the seating section. Instead, she started talking with the person sitting behind C5.
そうですか。カーキ色のコート。30くらいの男性ですね。
そうよ。よく覚えているわ。前の人、いきなり席を立つんだもの。
何時頃でしたか？
瀬田真紀子が演技してたから。
今から10分くらい前ですね。8時40分くらいですか？
席に着いたと思ったらすぐにいなくなっちゃって。ほんと迷惑だわ。
Usami's response was very quick. She's already discovered what the accomplice looks like. Something felt wrong. Hey, Usami, what's going on? Judging from the look on Usami's face as she turned back, I noticed how grim the situation was.
違う。
She spoke with unchanging intonation.
おかしい。最初からおかしかった。しかし唯一の手がかりを追っていくしかなかった。あらかじめ敗北の決まっているチェスのゲーム。
She mumbled as if talking to herself.
今すぐ止めてください。関係者通用口に向かっている皆さんをお願いです。早く。
Just like that? Why?
魔王は封筒にいくつも痕跡を残すようなヘマはしません。あの文章にしてもおかしい。ワープロ打ちではなく手書きというだけでも怪しいのに、妙に自慢げで程度の低い文面でした。そしてこの紙袋です。おそらくミスをしたのは魔王ではなく共犯者でしょう。
There's a mistake on the bag? I picked it up right away.
ガムテープです。
I finally understood.
まず優れた犯罪者というものはテープのように粘着性のあるものを嫌います。髪の毛、指紋、その他衣服の繊維なんかも知らず知らずのうちに付着されてしまうからです。何よりおかしいのは、共犯者はこの魔王の指示を開封しないでどうやって確認したのでしょうか。
True. The bag was sealed up until the moment Usami opened it.
そもそももし共犯者が魔王の指示を確認したのなら、まずこの手紙を持ち去っているはずです。私たちは手がかりを失っているはずなのです。
Because it's in order to kill, leaving such a piece of evidence at the scene is too suspicious to be true.
しかし今確認したところ、8時40分頃に共犯者らしき男性がこの C の5の席に着いたようです。なぜでしょう。共犯者は何をしに現れたんでしょう。今言ったように魔王の指示を確認しに来たわけではありません。
Which means...
はい、この紙袋を置いたのは魔王ではなく共犯者なのです。我々の目を育子さんに向けさせるためにわざとこんな証拠を残したんです。
I nodded with approval and then looked at my watch. It was nearly 9:05.
急ぎましょう、浅井さん。これは罠です。
No. The first target marked to feel the wrath of Mephistopheles was a woman named Yoshida Kimiko. Though Kanosaki Ikiko was also an unforgivable woman, Yoshida was even worse. Yoshida was a follower of a famous religious organization. That organization exists as a parasite feeding off of Japan's political circle and contributes to the nation's corruption. Of course, though their atrocities never make it to the public eye, the existence of their crimes is a well-known fact. Long before accepting Mao's instructions, Mephistopheles had already planned out a way to punish Yoshida with the iron fist of justice. Yoshida manages a cafe near the skating arena. The time was drawing near. The methods were simple. Mephistopheles wrapped his fingers tightly around the vial. Mao had taught him the procedure to create the toxin. He was simply to throw the vial into the shop, allowing the liquid to diffuse into the air and form a deadly mist. Not only Yoshida, but the customers too, birds of a feather anyway, would all die. Perfect. In any case, Mao really thought this through. He chose the moment right after the figure skating event. It had already been a pain just getting out of the arena. The area would soon be filled with mobs of people who didn't even know the meaning of the word patriotism. If one slipped into the crowd and boarded the subway in the immediate vicinity of the arena, there would be no worry of being caught no matter what came to pass. Mephistopheles had followed Mao's orders and placed the paper bag below the seat. In the brown bag was a phony instruction from Mao. It served only to throw the police off by indicating Kyousuke Yuki as the target. He had never made eye contact with a single person in the arena. Well, the old lady behind him gave him a nasty glare when he stood up from his seat, but she wouldn't remember his face. After all, he had appeared as nothing more than an ordinary citizen. After a 10-minute walk, Mephistopheles arrived at a luxurious brick cafe. A cruel smile emerged on his face. At the roadside shop, within the cramped yet tidy sitting area, a few boys and girls sat at the bar and chatted with the bartender. He saw her, Yoshida Kimiko. His target was the fan. Die. He raised the vial over his head. Hesitation isn't necessary when making a kill. This wouldn't be the first time anyway. Someone started to shout frantically. Surprising calls of, "That's the guy!" erupted behind him. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" they said. Mephistopheles looked back at their pointing fingers. Judging by their appearances, they seemed to be Yakuza. Their numbers multiplied. Curses came from all directions. Why? However, Mephistopheles was extremely calm. He put the vial back into his pocket and moved with the pedestrian traffic toward the subway station. His ticket had been bought beforehand. He moved slowly and orderly. He took the 9:05 train. It was stopped at the station right on time. Mephistopheles slowly boarded the subway car as planned. No, there had been a deviation from the plan. Oh, Yoshida was still alive. Why? How could this... By 9:30, the search for the accomplice had been called off.
ダメでしたか。
Usami was already gasping.
おそらく地下鉄でしょう。電車の到着時刻もあらかじめ調べておいたとしか思えません。
Even so, you figured out that his real target was Yoshida-san. Usami shook her head in regret.
共犯者はあの席におよそ8時40分に現れました。会場から出るだけで10分はかかるとして、犯行予定時刻の9時まで残り10分ですね。となると最も危険なのは会場から10分程度の場所にいる人物です。この混雑ですからタクシーは当てにならないでしょう。バスも同じです。地下鉄は8時46分の1本を流すと次は9時5分まで待てなくてはなりません。つまり共犯者は歩いて移動するはずです。アイスアリーナから歩いて10分程度の距離に住所を構えるのは吉田さんだけでした。
Though it was already past 9, Gonzo's troops' quick response was able to save her. They rushed to Yoshida Kimiko's cafe immediately and spotted a man in a khaki coat. Oribe spoke with a very depressed look.
すみませんね、坊ちゃん。不甲斐ないとこ見せちまって。
No, you've all given it your best. I'll report that to father.
逃げた男を目撃した方にお話を聞きたいのですが。
わかりました。はい、このタガー
He gave me my due respect, but his attitude towards his subordinates was a completely different beast. Usami started talking to one of Oribe's. After a while, the conversation ended.
じゃあ、自分らは報告もありますし、撤収しますわ。
I returned a bow and watched them leave.
残念ですが。
What is it?
聞けば一瞬のことだったそうです。カーキ色のコートを着た男を見つけたと思ったらいきなり喫茶店に向けて何か物を投げるような姿勢をとったんだそうです。顔はよく見えなかったが年齢は30くらいで痩せている印象だったということですが。
Usami sighed. If that's all we have, then this isn't going to be easy. Anyone could wear a khaki coat.
惜しかったのですがね。
So we're back to square one then.
いいえ、浅井さん。
Usami shook her head.
まだ手がかりはあるはずです。
た ったく。
Oh.
なんだよこんな時間に。
いや、ほんとすいません。
I'll see this. Just talk
僕
to Ichi.
これから録画したスケートのテレビ中継見ようと思ったのに。
みんなで見た方が楽しいじゃないですか。
That was scary. Speaking of which, Ichi, were you there at the arena today? Do you always record the show, even when you see it live?
もちろんだよ。解説聞きたいもん。会場内でも専用のラジオ貸し出してて、それで解説聞けるけど、テレビとは別の解説者だから。
The cameras might have caught the accomplice's face. That was the argument Usami had made for calling Ichi to see if he'd recorded the program. C5 was, in fact, right next to the ice. From there, one can concentrate on the competition without worrying about the person's head in front of him. Thus, there is a relatively high chance that his face was caught on camera.
はい。これ録画した DVD ね。
I took the disc from Ichi and put it in the DVD player. The three of us glued our faces to the screen, and the DVD started after a moment. Hey.
ごめん。本日の一発ギャグ。
What? A bit surprisingly, Usami lowered her head in embarrassment.
はい。本物はこっち。
This better not be another joke. Ichi swapped out the DVD and pressed play again. Looks like the real thing, alright. An aerial shot of the irritatingly crowded skating arena displayed on the screen.
じゃあ僕の解説を交えて最初から言ってみよう。
あ、8時半くらいからのを最初に見たいです。
え、8時半ったら最終グループの選手たちだよ。いきなりメインディッシュいただこうっていうの
8時40分くらいですかね。瀬田真紀子さんという方からお願いします。
なんなのさ、瀬田のファンなの？
いや、まあ。
確かにね、瀬田はいい演技してたと思うよ。でもね、なんつうの、無難すぎたんだよね。そりゃミスはなかったけどさ。
While Ichi was blabbering on, I took the opportunity to jump directly to Seida's free skate program with the remote control. Seida really was cute. Compared to Kanon, who looks almost like a foreigner, she was shorter and had a rounder face. She looked like some adorable character created for advertisements when she smiled.
ああ、そこダブルだったんだね。トリプル狙わないとカノンに勝てないでしょうが、瀬田ちゃん。
I suddenly found Ichi lying on his stomach on the floor. He looked like a middle-aged man watching baseball. Usami silently concentrated on the screen. How many cameras did they use? The multi-angle shots were making me dizzy. I remember seeing the cameras hanging by steel wires turning busily over the audience at the arena.
Stop!
I pressed the pause button without a second thought. It was right before she stepped into her axel jump. Behind Seida, behind the ringside advertisement, sat the man we were looking for.
ちょっと何止めてんの？
Shut up, old man.
何？
Usami spoke quietly.
カーキ色のコート。この人ですね。
I'll play it a little bit further. The man lowered his head and stretched his hands under the seat. He started to stand up, but then the camera angle switched again. By the time the camera angle switched back, the seat was already empty. Want to zoom in and have a look?
できるのであれば。
I don't know how to do it. Let me look it up on the internet.
僕わかるよ。
Wait, seriously? Have at it then.
でも教えてあげない。おっさんとかいうやつには教えてあげない。
Fine. If you help me get this done, I'll assist you with your patch-up plan with Miss Noriko.
自分も協力しますんで。
なんだよ、二人して。そこまで言うなら仕方ないな。
I didn't want to let them into my study, so I brought a laptop to the living room. Opening the tools as AHE instructed, we were finally able to modify the screen. The accomplice of Mao, the face of the man in the khaki coat, slowly became clear.
なんとまあ。
She muttered with a steep look. Do you recognize him? No way. Surely you don't mean he's the man Usami met late last night at the harbor.
そのまさかです。急ぎましょう。
ちょっとどこ行くの？
To a bar on Central Boulevard for a drink.
僕お酒飲めないんですけど。
What a pity. I guess our figure skating appreciation gathering ends here.
なんかよくわかんないけど、のりこ先生のことは頼むよ。
それは任せてください。邪悪な計画を練り上げておきますので。
We dashed out of the room. A piercingly cold wind dominated the streets.
浅井さん、車を出していただけると。
Right.
どうしました？
I staggered, letting a nearby street lamp bear my weight for a moment. I think I caught the flu.
大丈夫ですか？最近よく体を壊されるような気が。
I'm fine. I took my cell phone out.
どちらに電話を？
Gonzo, I'm calling for more men. We can't let him escape again.
わかりました。運転は控えた方が良さそうですね。少し休んでください。自分はタクシーでも拾っていきますんで。
Alright. Sorry about this. I'll catch up later. Just give me the address. My skull felt like it was splitting in two.
では。
Yeah, go. Usami ignored the bitter cold and dashed away. Usami's putting forth quite the effort. Now, I...
もうそのバーには近づかない方がいいでしょう。
Mal's voice told him this through the receiver. Mephistopheles bunched his shoulders in the cold wind and fled
それ
Central
にして
Boulevard.
も浅井カノンと暴力団がつながっているというのは本当だったんだな。
ええ、彼らは陰ながらスケート会場の警備をしていたというわけです。
連中を巻くのは簡単だった。しかしわからないのはなぜ私だと気づいたんだ。
After a short silence,
可
Mal
能性
said,
の一つとして知らず知らずのうちに人の目を引くような行動を犯してしまったとか、例えば演技中に席を立ってしまったり。
ちょっと待て、演技中に席を立つだって？
Mephistopheles nearly tripped in the middle of the road.
マナー違反なのか？
Mal suddenly climbed up. Though through this reaction, Mephistopheles understood.
すまなかった。そういえば後ろの席の女に悪態をつかれたような気がする。
あなたも急いでいたのでしょう。気が回らなかった私の不注意です。
いいや、お前はきちんと指示してくれていた。紙袋を置く瞬間を誰にも覚えられてはならないと。滑走前の選手の練習中、観客が休憩している時を狙えと。そもそもあの殺人の指示書は魔王が置いたものだと誤認させなくてはならなかったのだからな。
Mephistopheles grabbed his head and lamented his carelessness. The first step toward revolution had failed due to a trivial mistake. Mal must be similarly upset.
どうも申し訳なかった。
Mal's words shocked him speechless.
あなたを危険な目に遭わせてしまった。
There was a tugging sensation at Mephistopheles' chest. He was overcome by a warm feeling. In all these years, no one has ever apologized to him. Mephistopheles spoke to the large-hearted man somewhere beyond the
魔
receiver.
王、次の指示をくれ。
Okay, a little more. His voice was thick with loyalty. Oh man, at least they stopped him. That was close. Okay, that's good. Bye.